up, everyone? Welcome back. This is gonna be the third entry. I was supposed to record yesterday, but I'm gonna be honest, the whole day I was just at church from 10 until 3, and I was exhausted. I didn't even get home until 5. So I was pretty exhausted and I just wanted to relax. Yesterday we were learning about the tabernacle and how it was a foreshadow of Jesus. I'm debating on if I should do a video on what I learned from that. And it was a lot, and it was really, really beautiful. And I gained a new perspective on what the Bible actually is and how the Old Testament is not as bad as people portray it to be. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about Nehemiah. Is that how you say it? Nehemiah and chapter 2, verse 1 to 10. I just came back from church, and some context, Nehemiah was a slave, and he was a cupbearer to a king. And while he was filling up the wine of the kings, the king noticed that Nehemiah was very, very sad. And so he asked Nehemiah, why that face? Why is your face so sad? And Nehemiah was essentially just talking about how the wall of Jerusalem was down and that somebody needs to rebuild it. And he was then telling the king for suggestions. He was giving a lot of suggestions to the king on how to rebuild this wall. And out of that, the king saw respect that a slave is talking to a king like how he is. And because of that, the king inevitably ended up listening in and accepting Nehemiah's suggestions. Now, how does this apply to our spiritual walk, or spiritual walk and my life? A lot of the time, and my pastor was talking about how a lot of the times we avoid hardships, we avoid discomfort, right? And a lot of the times our heart lies and tells us that no, we don't avoid hardships. If anything, we accept hardships. And it got me thinking, when have I, because that was brewing up in my heart, where I said that no, I accept hardships. And then the pastor was talking about how when we play video games, we like to say we're going through hardships because we're competing against other players, right? But is that actually hardships? No. We're just sitting down and we're playing a video game. Mentally, of course, it may be a hardship. However, it's not a hardship that you actually have to push through. There is no breaking of the heart there. There is just reacting and reframing, and that's it. There's no growth there. There's no building there in terms of playing video games. You're not leveling up in real life. You're just leveling up in a virtual video game. And I know that's going to be a harsh take for some of my gamers out there, but I was a gamer myself, and I used to be very, very competitive in terms of video games. I always wanted to win in every game, and if I lost, I would want to run it back again and really get the last laugh. But if I think about it, let's say I do go through the hardships of the video game. When I turn off the video game, does my life become better or worse? Does my life change? It doesn't change. So in reality, I'm not going through many hardships, but my heart tells me, no, you are going through hardships because you're overcoming a challenge of a video game where at first it was hard for you and then later on you overcame it. Yeah, that's true, but it's a virtual. I'm going through virtual growth. It's not actual growth. Spiritual growth happens in real life, not virtually. And what I mean by that is, when you're walking a spiritual life and you're walking through the spiritual walk, the changes happens in a manifested world. For example, you going to church every day, you're receiving the message, and then a church guiding you to understand Jesus and how he's going to help you in life, and gives you more conviction that Jesus will help you throughout your whole entire life, allows you to move forward into the impossible space. And why? Because you have a heart where you believe that this impossible can become possible through Jesus Christ, right? And through that, let's say you end up building a business and it becomes a successful business. That is a spiritual walk. But you playing video games and you applying the principles of the Bible isn't really helping you grow in any way. You're walking in place. It's like you're on a treadmill. You think you're moving, but you're moving in place. And so when my pastor said that, it hit my heart, knowing that I have the opposite heart of Nehemiah. Nehemiah is actually thinking about things that he needs to do in order to build the wall. He has it in his heart that I'm going to be the one to build the wall, and I need a team that's going to build the wall. And when he's thinking about all these solutions, there's a difference between planning something and overthinking about something. What's the difference? When you're overthinking about something, you're thinking about all these problems that could happen, and you're also basing that off of your ability of you overcoming that problem. Because you, in your heart, are basing your abilities, or depending on your ability to overcome these quote-unquote problems, it creates more problems. However, if you are planning about something, you are planning all the problems that might happen, or a problem that might happen, and you understand that, oh dang, wait, what am I gonna do about this problem? You know what? Never mind. Who cares? I'm gonna base this ability of this problem being overcome by Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is gonna solve this problem for me. And with that, you inevitably move forward. You move forward because you know that, hey, if this problem does rise up, Jesus Christ is gonna handle it. And because of that, you don't create all these other problems. I'm gonna give you an example. Whenever I wanted to create my business, I wanted to create a business, online business. I wanted to do social media marketing, or I wanted to create an agency. When I wanted to create an agency, I was thinking about all these problems. The first problem that I had was, how am I gonna reach out to these people? What is outreach? How am I gonna reach out to these people, right? And because my heart posture was basing it off of my abilities to do an outreach, the first problem that came up when it came to outreach is, I don't know how to talk to people. I don't know how to communicate to people. I'm someone that's shy. I'm someone that's an introvert. And because of that, I didn't even move forward at all. I was doing everything I can to make sure to avoid that problem. However, if I had the heart of God is going to take care of my problems, and if I were to turn back time and I had that same problem, instead I would think about, hey, although I am someone that probably can't even talk to this person, or don't even know how to talk to these people, God knows how to talk to these people. God knows how to talk to their hearts. So I would have moved forward with that, and I would have inevitably probably talked to a lot more people. I would actually get some results and actually figure out, oh, okay, so this doesn't work. Okay, but God can probably change on how I talk through this way. And I would still move forward knowing that God will take care of it. knowing that, hey, someday God is going to give someone the heart to be open to my agency and they'll actually move forward with it. But instead, I was so reluctant. No, I relied so much on my abilities that when that thought first came up of I can't even talk to anybody, I'm an introvert, I'm shy, it shut down immediately everything, and I didn't even move forward at all, and I was just in place. Nehemiah had a completely different heart. He had the heart that relied on God's ability to solve the problems. He knew, hey, even though like building this wall is somewhat impossible, with God, it's actually possible. So let me just move forward with that. God is somehow going to fix this wall. God is somehow going to help me build this wall. And he moved forward with that. It gave him the boldness to tell the king, like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen regardless. And I think that's so important. That's so important, at least for me, because I'm someone who overthinks a lot. Overthinkers and planners do the same thing. They think ahead. But what happens is overthinkers create more problems because they don't have a belief that they can overcome the first problem. So lately I've just, especially after that sermon, it hit me knowing that I do have a heart of sloth. I am someone who relies on my own ability, and whenever I rely on my own ability, I stop myself from moving forward at all. I don't believe in myself to grow. Yet, for the past 2 days, God has given me so much boldness through His grace that I can move forward. Why? Because God is going to overcome that problem for me. All I'm doing, legit, the best way I can explain this is okay, I'm a huge well, I'm not watching anime as much anymore, but I watch anime, right? And the best way I can explain this is okay, let's do Naruto, for example, right? I'm like Naruto. Whenever I get weak, whenever I get defeated, there's always that last trump card that I have, and that's Kuruma. Kuruma in this case represents God. Whenever I'm losing and I need to win a battle, I just let Kuruma have at it, and he ends up going berserk, going crazy, and ends up winning the battle. Like the battle against Naruto and Pain, for example. Naruto was defeated and he saw Hinata die, and all he could do was just like, you know what, I can't do anything right now. I'm just gonna let someone who is even crazier than me handle that. Someone who's even stronger than me handle that. And he let Kuruma go crazy, and he ended up beating Pain in that battle. In the same sense, that's what's going on with me. I'm someone who is weak, and the only person I can rely on is God to overcome that problems. And I'm not saying like I'm taking advantage of God. It's more of I'm relying on His abilities to solve my problems, because at the end of the day, He wants to pour His grace and His mercy onto us. He understands that we are weak, we are lacking. There's a verse in the Bible that says, everyone fell short in the glory of God. He understands that everyone is weak, everyone came short, and there is nothing that we can do at all. In our spiritual life, there is nothing that we can do to live a really good spiritual life. So that's why God takes care of it. That's why God handles everything. And even in the tabernacle, God created the tabernacle so He can dwell with us. He wants to dwell with us. And now God is able to dwell in our hearts because of Jesus Christ. In the same sense, Nehemiah's story hit my heart so much, and my heart needed to hear that, because especially with this offer, there could be moments, and there are moments, where I overthink about the dumbest things, stupidest things. The reason why I do that is because, once again, I'm relying on my own self, and when I rely on my own self, I see so many flaws within that. Yet whenever I rely on God, the problems don't seem that big anymore. Problems don't seem that big anymore because God is so big. God is so powerful. He has overcame any problem and any temptation that Satan plants in our hearts, in our minds. Jesus Christ is the only man who has overcame Satan as a human. Let that sink in. He has been in our shoes before. He has dealt with a lot of the problems that we dealt. And Satan will give us the heart or even the thought of saying, yeah, but Jesus didn't know Jesus didn't even know what a lead is. Jesus didn't even know how to run a business. Jesus didn't even know what SOP is, or all this stuff, right? All these technical stuff. However, a lot of these problems stem from the heart. Yes, although Jesus never knew what a lead is or SOP is, but he knows what shame is. He knows what anger is. He knows what lust is. He knows what sadness is, right? Everybody feels this. Everybody feels this, whether they work in sales, whether they work in a 9-to-5, whether they work in construction. Everybody has these emotions, these deep-rooted emotions within us. Why? Because we all have hearts. We all have feelings. And Jesus overcame those deep-rooted problems. So, yes, the circumstances may look specific and technical. However, that doesn't mean that Jesus can't overcome that. Because a lot of these technical problems, a lot of these specific circumstances, in reality, stem from probably how you're feeling about it and how you're handling it through those feelings. And Jesus overcomes that. So, it's beautiful. It's beautiful that the Bible teaches us how to overcome problems, but not through our ability, but through Jesus Christ and his abilities. How beautiful is that? We don't have to do anything. He does everything for us. And it may sound like we're taking advantage of him, but God knows we're lacking. God knows that we are weak. And that's why he came down. That's why he sent his son. Because he knows that we can't do anything. How amazing is that? God is so powerful. God is love. And he's just like, dude, let me handle your problems. But what does Satan do? Satan tells us, you're taking advantage of him. You should be doing something. And there's going to be a lot of people hearing this message that don't accept that. And that's completely fine. That's not your fault either. Satan has done a very, very good job on teaching us that everything is a transaction within this world. That accepting that God really wants to help us sounds like God wanting to take advantage of us. Or sounds like us wanting to take advantage of him. And there are some people that do accept this message, and those people have the heart through God's grace to be able to listen to the deeper message. I just wanted to talk about how the heart of people who overthink versus the heart of people who plan, and the difference between that, and how successful business owners, for example, are able to think about all these problems, be paranoid, yet be successful, because they are relying on their ability of a higher power or someone of a higher identity being able to overcome this problem. While people who plan the same thing as the owners or the successful business owners, but they start overthinking because they're basing that off of fear. They're basing that off of shame. They're basing that off of the identity, the lacking identity. And at the end of the day, you have the choice to choose who you want to base your identity off of, who you want to base your ability off of. Of course, for me, I'm basing my abilities off of God, because He has helped me so much in my life, and He just given me this heart that He is really the only way and truth, and yeah, and He's given me the heart to accept that God is the only way. Of course, for anybody here that's listening that doesn't believe in God, you can still apply this to your higher identity, your higher subconscious. Whoever you believe that you are in the future that has everything in his life, if you base your ability off of that person, there is no problems that you can't overcome. Of course, it's going to take some time, but the more you have faith into that and realign yourself to that identity, inevitably the universe is going to help you in providing you with a solution. And yeah, that's the entry for me today. And I'm honestly really enjoying creating these videos, because it just allows me to reiterate what I'm learning, and if anything, if I need to fall back to anything, I can just fall back to this, because in this moment, my heart is very, very susceptible to this image or this message, and holds on to this message really hard. I know tomorrow all these messages will disappear, only because the Bible says that the heart is deceitful above all things. Jeremiah 17 verse 9. So I truly believe that tomorrow, if I wake up, I'm going to completely forget how powerful this message is. And the only way that I can inevitably hold this deeper in my heart is, one, by praying to God and through Him allowing me to hold that onto my heart, and two, just looking back at this message and then being present with it and listening to it. But yeah, I appreciate you guys, and maybe sometime in the future I will create a video talking more about what I learned about the tabernacle and the foreshadowing of Jesus through the tabernacle. But yeah, for the most part, that's all I really want to talk about. I'm grateful that God is even able to give me this much grace to articulate my thoughts into something like this. A third reason why I enjoy creating the videos, because it helps me practice articulating my thoughts and presenting it out externally, transferring internal thoughts into external thoughts and connecting that. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Appreciate you guys for listening, and thank you if you stuck around this time. See you guys.